Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's going on, everybody? Well, I like to get my video podcast always started with a moment of silence, followed by a serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers. So, if you would, please, a moment of silence. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right, well, let's get started. How's it going, everybody? Man, today is a pretty good day, I guess. I mean, I'm sober, so it's a good day, right? I hope that you are in that same boat as well. But if you're not, well, maybe this podcast here will be a little push to the so that you can get that first step into the road to recovery and positivity. So yeah, so I guess a topic that I want to talk about today is I was over at I was in a meeting earlier today, and it's an NA meeting, Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Love going to those meetings. I love going because it allows me to stay grounded in my recovery. It allows me to keep reminded in my recovery, to keep me in the know-how, in the present of my both addiction and recovery. You know what I mean? So it allows me to keep everything fresh, if you will. And you know, one of the things that was discussed in the meeting was the discussion of fear, and I wanted to kind of elaborate that on my video today, and the fear of of how fear in my personal journey, how fear kept me in the addiction, and how it, in a sense, keeps me moving forward in my recovery. And I I know that I've had many adversities, right, in my life that resulted in me, you know, going to my comfort zone, and my comfort zone, if anything, if there was any type of adversity in my life, my comfort zone is to go to my default, and that is to go to what's comfortable for me, and that's using. And I've learned from an early age is that the use of alcohol and drugs made my mind feel different, and it allowed me not to feel those bad and ugly things that I was going through, whether it was the childhood traumatic experiences that I experienced, or it was the PTSDs that I deal with, or the depression, or the sadness, or the anger, or the addiction itself. You know what I mean? And so I know that when I got into that fearful mode, using was just real easy to do, and it allowed me to not deal with the fearing factor, or it allowed me to just, ignore it altogether, and which was really unhealthy. And it took me a long, long time to understand that fear can actually be a positive thing, and you can transform the fear into a positive thing. And because I always thought, being fearful of something always was a bad thing. You know what I mean? I always looked at it as this negative sense, and because it kept me in the negative. It kept me in the negative mindset all the time. So in turn there, it kept me in the world of darkness. It kept me in that world of addiction. It kept me in that world of, dealing with post-traumatic experiences, dealing with childhood traumatic experiences, dealing with the depression, dealing with the sadness, dealing with the anger, all of those things. And so, the I've been through many, uh, uh, I've been through many, 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 I've been through many I've done many things to try to correct uh, the issues in my life. The issues that I have personally. The neurological brain disorders that I got in the form of PTSDs, in the form of childhood traumatic experiences, the depression, the anger, the sadness, the drug addiction, all those things. And it is, I've done quite a few things to try to deal with that stuff. And I've gone through quite a few rehabs. I've gone to 3 rehabs in my lifetime, and each one of them was different. You know what I mean? Each one of them, I picked up a little something different, and I know that it is it's not an easy road. You know what I mean? It by any means is the road to recovery, the road to being happy and positive, and to having a nice, healthy, freaking lifestyle. It seems like it's just like this thing that's in the distance that there's just no way that I'm going to be able to get there. And that's how I used to think. But, by involving myself and bringing the curtain down a little bit every single time of doing positive things, and, I found that it became easier. You know what I mean? The fear somehow just disappeared when I allowed myself to be teachable in a sense, and I allowed my mind to, take the blinders off in a sense, and brought in my mind and my heart and soul to be vulnerable in a sense. I had to learn how to be honest. I had to learn to be open-minded, and I had to learn to be willing to, allow the fear to take place, because there's things that I had to learn that I can't control certain things. And the things that I can't control, like the things that life throws at me, I can't control what life's going to hit me with. You know what I mean? What I can control is I can control the environment that I put myself into. I can control the negative boundaries. If I replace those negative boundaries with healthy and positive boundaries, then that will in turn lead my life into a different realm. And it leads me into this realm of recovery and positivity, which is just awesome. You know what I mean? Because if I allow myself to stay stuck in that depressed mode, if I allow myself to stay stuck in anger, if I allow myself to be stuck in the past of what happened to me when I was a child, or if I allow myself to stay, stuck into the mentality of using and the street life, if I allow that stuff to dictate where my boundaries go, well, then I know exactly what what the results are. I understand that, and I understand that Joel's way isn't the right way. It never has been. You know what I mean? And for a long time, man, did I think that I always felt this urgency that everything had to be the way I wanted it to be. And if it didn't work that way, well, then either I'm going to use or I'm going to be pissed off or whatever the result of that was. And it was hardly ever good. You know what I mean? There was nothing really good about it. Don't get me wrong. There's been times that I thought I was on top of the world while I was using, but it was just a faint, episode. It was just something that came and went really fast. And I do know that if I keep a positive mindset, if I keep positive things in my life, then and if I deal with positive people and spiritual people, then my life starts becoming easier. Things start just disappearing. You know what I mean? The bad things, the negative issues. It's amazing how that works, but it works. And I'm afraid. I'm afraid of the change. I am, because I don't like to have to make new friends, or I don't want to have to go through new things. I'm comfortable staying in my little box in a sense. But I know that if I stay in that little box with just me, then I'm gonna, bring in other things that will keep me in that box, and that's gonna be, I'll bring in I'm gonna want to use in that box because that's all I know. You know what I mean? That box that I've been in for many, many, many years is filled with just negative and, bad results. And if I continue to stay positive, if I continue to stay on a spiritual journey and do the things that I'm doing now, that I got this recovery arsenal, what I call it, in the things that I do now to keep my mentality positive and myself happy and help people. I can't do it without my spiritual journey. Number one, I depend highly on my higher power. That is one thing that is a necessity in my recovery. And then I depend on my recovery community and how that may turn out to be. In my recovery community can be me picking up a book to read, me watching somebody's podcast, me going to an NA meeting, or going to an AA meeting, or going to one of my peer support groups that I attend, and the many things that I interact myself with as far as addiction and recovery goes. All those 12-step program type things, and just different. I do a lot of creative therapy programs. Also, I do music therapy, and I start drawing, and I do a lot of reading, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a 12-step program reading, but I do that. I read those types of books. I read psychological books. I read self-motivating books. I read books about the brain. I read books about meditation and shamans, and just a bunch of positive things, because the more that I read it, the more my brain expands, the more open-minded I get. And I just recently enrolled into another school. I got an associate's degree, I got a bachelor's degree, and I could do whatever I really want as far as work goes. But I'm on another journey now, and so I enrolled in another program in a college so that I can expand my horizons. Right? There's always got to be something more out there that you put in your life so that you don't stay stagnant and your life doesn't become boring, because boredom is terrible. The fear of being bored, the fear of doing nothing, will result in you going back to doing what you're comfortable doing. And for me, that's using. And so if I keep myself busy in that sense, and by setting all these positive boundaries, then the chances of me staying here in this realm of recovery and positivity will shoot up a whole lot. The percentage of me staying here, we're going to be, pretty high. And, I don't take anything for granted. I'm grateful and humble about everything and anything that comes my way, because I've been in that road where I was sober at one point in my life for 10 years. And that was my longest sobriety run. I was sober for 10 whole years, man. And I realized, you know what I mean? So, because I got complacent, I went back to my old ways of thinking, and I thinking that I could just do it on my own, and I stopped going to the meetings, and I stopped, going to peer support groups. I started going to the men's groups at the church that I was going to, and the recovery, Celebrate Recovery that I was going to at church. I stopped doing all of those things, and the minute I stopped doing that stuff, and the minute I stopped putting uh, those healthy boundaries, and I took those away, was the moment I went back to the darkness, or the first time that I went back to the negative living, and the fear came back just like that. You know what I mean? So then it just is. I know how fast it can. You can lose it, and it being your mindset will change dramatically, and thinking, and it'll make you think that, man, there's just no way out. And you know what? Welcome back. Have another one, and have another one, and have another one, because this is all that you're worth, and that's how it makes you feel. It makes you feel that, well, this is just as good as it gets. I done messed up again, so I might as well just do it while I'm here. And next thing you know, another day goes by, another day goes by. Man, I relapsed for 5 years, and I wish that I found nobody. And so, my recovery arsenal this time around is I'm trying to pack it in with some potent and positive and healthy things, so that doesn't happen to me again. And I just, for those of you who maybe are going through a stint of sobriety, and you might think that you're doing pretty good, and just don't be mistaken. I recommend you not to forget, and not to stop the things that you're doing, and the things that you've done to get you to where you are. So that's the key, is to not give up those things, because the minute that you give up on the healthy boundaries is the first minute that you're going to go back to the negative realm, and that's where you don't want to be. And so I encourage you to pick up a book. You know what I mean? Pick up a look at a different podcast, or somebody's sermon, or take a look at your local church. If you attend church, all churches have these peer support groups. You know what I mean? Attend one and see how that helps you. And if not, there's AA and NA meetings all over town, in my city anyway, and I'm sure there's probably the same in your city. There's meetings all over the country and all over the world of AA and NA. So those are, all you got to do is look them up, and just know that when you step in those facilities, that nobody's going to turn you away, man. You will be able to go to those facilities with a clear mind, that nobody's going to judge you, man, because everybody shows you love there. I know all the meetings that I've ever gone to, I've always gotten greeted with a hug and a smile, and brother, you're home. You know what I mean? Sister, you're here to stay. So it's something that you can just know that you'll be able to be comfortable, man, and to let out whatever you need, and to pick up little nuggets of people's stories, so that they can help you get to where you need to go. And that's what happened to me. You know what I mean? I sat there in a meeting one time and heard this guy spilling his guts out, and man, I just thought, man, I want what he has, because he seems so happy. And I did that, man. I followed his steps, and it got me 10 years of sobriety. So I know that the program works. You know what I mean? It works for different ways for different people, but there's a story out there for you, just like there was for me. And that is one thing that as people with neurological brain disorders, when we share our stories, somebody knows that same story. Somebody's going through that same story. And if you can explain and tell people what has helped you along the way to get to where you are in today's positive and world of recovery and positivity, just like me, then you'll be helping somebody out. And I just hope that my stories are reaching out to somebody, and that they allow you to stay in that recovery road of positivity and sobriety and just spirituality, man, because it's great. It's a great feeling to be happy and to know that you can go to these meetings and you can call people, and you know, it's like almost like you are stepping in a room full of family that you hadn't seen in a while, but you all get along because you guys all went through the same type of shit. You know what I mean? It is, because it's not, you've been to those family gatherings where, you got your cousin who's done all kinds of stuff, or your uncles or your aunts, and then you feel like the outcast dude, you know what I mean? You don't have that successful story or whatever. But you know what? When you surround yourself with recovering people in recovery of any type of recovery, just know that you're going to be treated like family, and it's going to be love right there, and you're more susceptible to doing something good and listening to somebody who has been there and done that versus somebody who just thinks they know it all. You know what I mean? So I hope that this message here today has encouraged somebody to get into that first step of wanting to get on that road of recovery and positivity. And if you're already there, I hope that maybe this story has helped you to maybe give you a little shove into doing some service work and helping out somebody that needs it, and maybe sharing a story, maybe just sharing at a meeting. Maybe you're one of those people who just go to the meeting just to sit there and listen, and maybe this time you'll share and know that when you do that, you're going to be helping out somebody else, man, and it's a good thing when that happens. And but at this time, I'd like to just encourage you guys to give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a comment if you want, and hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to my channel, because this is my due diligence in giving away what has helped me along the way to get here, is to do these podcast videos so that I can help somebody else. And just know that when you do, it doesn't cost you a thing. All you got to do is tap that little subscribe button, and you just know that you'll be helping out another veteran like myself, another addict like myself, another person dealing with depression, PTSD, childhood traumatic experiences, and depression just like me. And so I greatly appreciated you guys watching my video podcast today. So I guess until the next time, on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.